Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary General, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. General, let me start with you. My home state of Missouri is very excited and proud to receive the B-21, which will form a critical part of our nuclear triad and also our conventional global strike capability. And let me ask you this. How do you envision the B-21 helping to defeat a Chinese fait accompli scenario involving Taiwan when you consider both its nuclear and its conventional capabilities?
Yes, sir. You know, very often I tell my my slide builders, if I see the next slide I see that has a big red dome over China or Russia, I'm going to execute CHOCON on the slide builder. China can't put a big red block of wood over itself. It can put a block of Swiss cheese over itself, and our job is to know where the holes in are and how to get in and how to hold targets at risk. That's what the B-21 does.
Let me ask you about the number. You previously stated, General, that the Air Force requires at least, I think your words were at a minimum, 100 B-21s. You've also said you are in lockstep with various analyses showing the Air Force may need more than 100 B-21s. So give us your best estimate. How many B-21s does the Air Force actually require to cover down on both its nuclear and conventional missions?
Our assessment, and that's been backed up by independent assessments, that a moderate risk force is 220 bombers, of which 145 would be B-21s.
Very good. Thank you. General, Missouri is also home to the 139th Airlift Wing, which does incredible work to ensure that the Joint Force has the tactical airlift it needs. We're very proud of that as well. Can you tell us how you see the Air National Guard airlift with units like the 139th enabling distributed operations in the Indo-Pacific and Europe?
That unit, like all of our Guard units, I know it's one of the beauties of the way the Air Force is organized. You know, when I would travel around as the Air Component Commander in Central Command, I'd go to up in the cockpit of a C-17 or a C-130, and I'd say, okay, who's active, who's Guard, who's reserve, and all three hands would go up. Such is the nature of how we're integrated. We could not do the nation's business without our Guard and reserve. Could not do it.
Let me ask you about modernizing the C-130H and the expanding number of C-130Js. How might doing those things for the Air National Guard enable those units to support the kind of operations we've been talking about?
Well, both in the C-130J, which is just a phenomenal weapon system. I think we're running out of letters in the alphabet for the C-130. So the C-130J is just incredible, and the upgrades we're doing on the C-130H with the AMP, the new avionics, is going to keep that weapon system flying as well. And when we get back to Senator Hirono's point about agile combat employment, you know, part of your ability to be able to move to win is your tactical lift. And so we're taking a fresh look at, you know, where do the C-130s live and how do they play relative to being able to move very quickly around a battlefield. And I think that's going to become more important as we go forward.
Very good. Let me ask you about the LRASM missiles. The FY21 budget general says the Air Force is planning to buy, I think, 129 LRASMs between now and FY25. I'm just curious, does the Air Force have any other advanced anti-ship weapons in its inventory besides the LRASMs?
That's the only one I can talk about in the unclassified realm. And I will tell you, sir, that the munitions story is actually a really good news story. Based on additional money that was given to us, we've been able to grow the munitions bins in some preferred munitions in ways we haven't done for years. Just to give you an example, we were in FY18, we were at 44% for JDAMs. We're now at 88%. So just to give you an example of how we've done the munitions bins.
Let me ask you just about the LRASMs in particular, and considering the vital role that they play, particularly in defeating Chinese surface forces, do you think 129 is enough? I mean, do we need to be buying more?
We always need to be buying more, sir. I will tell you that we balance that against all the other requirements. Right now, I will tell you that some of the lowest stock numbers we have are in air-to-air missiles, and so we've been focusing there recently.
Let me ask you, General, shifting topics just slightly. Over the last 5 years, the Air Force has, I think, pretty dramatically improved its ability to conduct distributed operations in the European theater. And is it fair to say that a lot of those improvements were made possible by the European Deterrence Initiative? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Can you just speak just briefly about how EDI has helped the Air Force adopt a more resilient posture in Europe?
So the Army focused on pre-positioned stocks. We focused on access and basing because an Air Force is expected in the operational plan to arrive quickly because we can fly into theater, halt enemy activity, and stabilize the situation for follow-on activity. So therefore, we need bases that we can operate from. So we put our money into access and basing, and that's allowed us to have a much larger footprint.
Thank you for that. And I'll just say, Mr. Chairman, this is why I continue to believe that something similar, some dedicated funding stream is vital for INDOPACOM. Thank you. Thank you, General. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank